Hi, folks. Welcome to the second and final episode of the lesson A Voice for Freedom. Let's do a quick recap before we proceed with Madame Sirleaf's speech. In part 1, we learned that Madame Sirleaf, who was the president of Liberia, won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2011, along with Takal Karman of Yemen and Lima Bowie, who was also a fellow Liberian. She mentioned in her acceptance speech given in Oslo that she was honored to be in the august company of black men and women who had won the Nobel Peace Prize before her. She also mentioned how she was influenced by the examples of her parents and two grandmothers who inculcated moral values in her. She further said that her life was transformed when she was elected the president of Liberia, and how running the war-ravaged country proved to be a formidable challenge for her. Now let's dive into the rest of her speech. Addressing the women of all nationalities, colors, and religions, she expresses her deepest empathy for the brutalities and injustices that they have suffered in different parts of the world. She mentions the genocide and ethnic cleansing that occurred in countries like Democratic Republic of Congo, Rwanda, Sierra Leone, Sudan, Somalia, Liberia, and former Yugoslavia, and how women became victims of unimaginable violence in those countries. She laments that in wars, rape is used as a weapon of war and how women's dignity is destroyed as a result. It is a shame and a pity that women are dehumanized and brutalized in an armed conflict, and they pay a heavy price in the currencies of blood, of tears, and of dignity. Then she highlights the fact that girls' education is neglected in different parts of the world. Not enough money is allocated or enough teachers are appointed to teach the girl child. In many societies across the world, girls' education is considered unnecessary. The Nobel laureate observes that crimes against women often go unreported, and law enforcement agencies do not do enough to protect women from crimes. It makes her feel sad that in the 21st century, women and girls are being trafficked globally, and as a result of trafficking, they face abject poverty, suffering, humiliation, and brutalities. But then she sees a ray of hope in the midst of all this gloom and doom. She mentions how international law and an awareness of human rights are bringing about changes in different walks of life all over the world. Madame Sirleaf observes that in today's world, hushing up abuse of human rights is becoming increasingly difficult due to the widespread use of technology that has turned our world into one interconnected neighborhood. Let me explain this point with the example of the recent developments in our neighboring country, Myanmar. You must be aware that the army in Myanmar staged a coup and overthrew the democratically elected government there. The people of Myanmar took to the streets and protested against the military rulers. They cracked down heavily on the demonstrators and opened fire, killing more than 700 innocent civilians. These images were flashed on the TV screen and shared on social media all across the world. Even in Dimapur, candlelight vigils were held to express solidarity with the freedom-loving people of Myanmar. Thus, technology has turned the world into a global village, and it has become very difficult for any dictator or totalitarian regime to commit atrocities on its own people. Another encouraging sign, according to Madame Sirleaf, is that the countries long accustomed to dictatorship are increasingly opting for democracy. Madame Sirleaf finds it heartening that people all over the world are rejecting mindless violence and defending the fundamental values of democracy, of open society, of freedom, and of peace. She calls upon all right thinking men and women to condemn injustice and raise their voice for peace, justice, and human rights. She urges them to be fearless in their fight for freedom, justice, and equality. In her speech, the Nobel Peace Laureate refers to a famous quote inscribed on the wall of the memorial to Martin Luther King Jr. And I quote, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice." Unquote. It means the struggle for justice will not be an easy one. It will be a long struggle riddled with hurdles and obstacles. A heavy price has to be paid, but victory in the end is assured. Madame Sirleaf mentions the quote in order to motivate men and women all over the world to raise their voice against violence, injustice, and violation of human rights. Thereafter, she turns her attention to her own country and observes that Liberia has conducted two successive free and fair presidential and legislative elections, which have strengthened democratic institutions in her country. She regrets the fact that, though the last elections were largely peaceful, one violent incident cast a shadow over the poll process, and she condoles the deaths of those who lost their lives and is saddened by the injuries suffered by others in the poll related violence. She realizes the importance of strengthening democratic institutions and the rule of law in Liberia. Democratic institutions are institutions that refer to the election commission, the parliament, the state assemblies, the courts, etc. She also emphasizes the role of the opposition in a vibrant democracy. According to her, unless there is a strong and effective opposition who will keep a watchful eye on the ruling party, democracy will not function properly. She also observes that the youth of Liberia are keen on acquiring better education, useful skills, and jobs. They want to contribute to the rebuilding of their country. Towards the end of her speech, she reminds the audience that though more and more countries in Africa and the Middle East are switching over to representative democracy, the path ahead is a long and difficult one. There is a lot that needs to be done. She urges everyone to raise their voices for human rights, which are enshrined in an important document adopted by the United Nations General Assembly on 10th December 1948. She stresses the point that human rights are universal and legally binding. Everyone, regardless of their country, caste, creed, or color, must enjoy these rights, and it is incumbent upon every government to ensure that these universal human rights are respected and upheld under all circumstances. Before concluding her speech, Madame Sirleaf urges everyone to work unitedly for the achievement of a genuine and lasting peace. Finally, she expresses her deepest gratitude to the Norwegian Nobel Committee for the honor given to her and sincerely thanks the audience for their work in the service of peace and human dignity. With these words, the Nobel laureate concludes her speech. I know It's not an easy lesson to understand. You need to read the speech and watch the videos a number of times before you can understand it completely. Hope you will make the necessary efforts to understand the lesson. I'll be uploading the notes in a couple of days. Take care of yourself. Bye for now.